Welcome to Whole Bible Study with your host, me, Taddy Noy. We are now in Numbers chapter 17. This chapter follows immediately after one of the most destabilizing moments in Israel's wilderness journey, the rebellion of Korah in Numbers 16, which was not simply an act of individual defiance. It was a sociopolitical rupture within a developing tribal confederation. Israel, at this stage, is not yet a settled nation. It is a covenant community in formation, structured around tribes, clans, and divinely appointed roles. In such a fragile environment, disputes about authority are not theoretical. They threaten cohesion, they threaten survival. In Numbers 16:3, Korah and his associates confront Moses and Aaron with the words, "You have gone too far. The whole community is holy, even one of them, and the Lord is with them. Why then do you set yourselves above the Lord's assembly?" The language sounds egalitarian and even pious. Israel has indeed been declared holy in Exodus 19:6, a kingdom, a quote, kingdom of priests and a holy nation. The problem was not that the claim that Israel was holy. The problem was the assumption that holiness erased distinctions of role. In a tribal society, authority is connected to lineage, calling, and structure. The Levites were set apart for service. Within that tribe, the sons of Aaron were designated for priestly mediation. Korah's challenge was therefore not merely theological disagreement. It was a structural confrontation. Sociologically, such crises are common in early stage communities. When a people are still forming its identity, questions of honor and responsibility easily become contests of ambition. Individuals begin to assume more recognition or authority than has been given. Pride often presents itself in the language of shared dignity. But when role boundaries dissolve without clarity, disorder typically follows. Number 17 presents God's response. Rather than issuing another warning or unleashing further destruction, the Lord commands a visible and decisive sign. Moses is instructed to collect a staff from each tribal leader. The Hebrew word used here is matteh. This term can mean a rod or staff, but it also carries the meaning of tribe. The connection is significant. The staff symbolizes authority and identity. Each leader's name is written on his staff, and Aaron's name is written on the staff representing Levi. The staffs are placed in the tent of meeting, in front of the testimony, that is, before the Ark of the Covenant. The dispute over leadership is brought directly into the presence of God. Human rivalry is not resolved by negotiation. It is submitted to divine decision. The Lord declares that the staff belonging to the man he chooses will sprout. Now the next day, Moses enters the tent and finds that Aaron's staff had not only sprouted, but had budded, blossomed, and produced almonds. The Hebrew text emphasizes stages of growth. The verb vayatzeretz indicates sprouting. Buds appear, blossoms open, almonds ripen. What should have remained inert wood has become a living branch. The staff is cut from a tree. Once served from its roots, it cannot generate life. Once severed from its roots, it cannot generate life. It is dead wood shaped for use. The emergence of buds and fruit from such an object is therefore not incremental growth, but reversal. It is life where there should be none. This detail is central to the meaning of the sign. At the immediate communal level, the dispute is settled. Each tribal leader retrieves his staff. Only one has changed. There is no argument left to make. The sign is tangible and public. In a community shaken by rebellion and judgment, this moment provides clarity without further catastrophe. At the theological level, the budding rod communicates that legitimate authority in Israel is not seized but given. It is not sustained by assertion, but by divine vitality. The priesthood is not a political office to be claimed, it is a vocation animated by God. Aaron does not cause the staff to bud. He does not argue his case. The life that appears on the wood comes from outside him. The almond imagery adds depth. The Hebrew word for almond is shaked. Almond trees are among the earliest to blossom in the land, often appearing while winter still lingers. In Jeremiah 1:11-12, God shows Jeremiah an almond branch and says he is, quote, watching, shaked, over his word to perform it. The linguistic association between almond and watchfulness suggests attentiveness and readiness. In Numbers 17, the blossoming almonds signify that God is attentive to the structure of his covenant community. He is not indifferent to the integrity of its leadership. God then commands that Aaron's staff be placed back in front of the testimony to keep as a sign to the rebellious. The Hebrew word for sign is ot. Throughout the Torah, an ot functions as a visible marker of divine action and covenant memory. The rainbow in Genesis 9 is called a sign. The blood on the doorposts in Exodus 12 functions as a sign. A sign anchors memory and guards against forgetfulness. In the formative stages of a community, memory must be embodied without physical reminders. The past fades and rivalries return. The preserved staff becomes an institutional memory within sacred space. It stands as enduring evidence that the priesthood has been divinely designated. Now, anthropologically, this episode demonstrates how emerging societies stabilize themselves after internal conflict. Visible symbols can prevent reoccurring disputes by embodying sacred shared conclusions. The budding rod is not merely a miracle narration for inspiration, it is a structural solution embedded in Israel's liturgical life. Theologically, the chapter reinforces that divine holiness requires ordered mediation. The tabernacle is not a common ground. It is structured space. Access to God is not denied, but it is regulated. The priesthood exists to facilitate approach, not to monopolize God's presence. And without mediation, proximity to holiness becomes dangerous. So with mediation, it becomes life-giving. This chapter concludes with the people's reaction. They cry out, quote, "We will die. We are lost. We are all lost," unquote. Anyone whoever comes near the tabernacle of the Lord will die, unquote. Their words reveal fear and overreaction. They have witnessed dramatic judgments. They have seen rebellion end in death. Their conclusion is emotionally understandable. At the same time, their fear reflects genuine awe. They now recognize that God's holiness is not symbolic. It is real and potent. Their mistake is not in sensing holiness, but in assuming that holiness is indistinguishable from destruction. The tabernacle was given so that God could dwell among them. The priesthood exists so that approach is possible. Boundaries do not exist to exclude, but to protect. Numbers 17, therefore, answers the question raised by Korah's challenge. Who has the right to mediate before the Lord? The answer is determined not by democratic assertion or tribal competition, but by divine confirmation marked by life. The matteh that blossoms identifies the chosen priest because God animates what otherwise would remain lifeless. The movement from dead wood to living fruit is the heart of the sign. Authority validated by God produces life. Authority driven by pride produces instability. Korah's challenge fractured the camp. Aaron's confirmation restores order. The path leads to collapse. The other sustains the covenant community. The preserved staff becomes a quiet witness within the sanctuary. It reminds Israel that the structure established among them is meant to guard their life together. The priesthood is a calling, not a privilege seized. And the holiness of God is not a threat to his people, but a reality so profound that it must be approached with reverent order if it is to dwell among them without bringing harm. Now, this chapter moves from rivalry to clarity, from chaos to stability, from panic to instructed awe. A dead branch blossoms, and in the blossoming, Israel learns that true authority in this community is marked by vitality. Leadership confirmed by God bears fruit, and leadership born of ambition divides. As we reflect on this chapter, we are reminded that divine order is given for preservation, not control. Where God appoints, life follows. Where God establishes structure, it protects what is sacred. And where holiness dwells, it calls for reverence rather than fear. May this understanding steady your own sense of calling and community. May it remind you that true authority is life-giving, and that reverence creates space for God's presence to dwell without chaos. And we will see you in the next chapter soon.